Hello, my friends, welcome back. We are looking at enhancing the calculator project from the YByte Python curriculum available at www.ybyte.in. In the previous video, we saw how we could place these numbers, which are in the blue square over here, using a for loop. Now, let's focus our attention on these operator buttons and again see how we can place them in a single loop, which makes the code very concise. Now, this is obviously going to be a little bit easier because as you notice, there's only one column of operators for me and I have only four operators. But of course, that need not be the case. You can have two columns, two rows. There is really any number of possibilities you can do once the basic infrastructure is in place. Now, the idea really is quite simple. I'm just going to define a base row and a base column. Now, in this case, my base row, I'm saying it as 2 because, well, 0, 1, and 2, base row. And the base column, I'm putting as 3 because 0, 1, 2, 3. Now, keeping it this way keeps everything more, let's say, So the whole idea is, in fact, quite similar to what we did for numbers, except that here now the list is simpler. So I just have a list of operators that I'm placing, four of them, and I just iterate over this list. I basically go and say, okay, look, the text should be op list kk because that's what I want to be on the button itself. For placing them on the grid method, I just say row is kk plus say base row br. A column is equal to base column again because I am placing them in a single column. But we can change this. And the lambda assignment is done using again a binding. So I say lambda x equals to kk, and then I call this press op function with x as an say op list x as the argument. Now remember, when we do this, it makes sure that the lambda function works for every item on that list. So let's just do this. So I come in here and I'm going to put a similar code, let's say. So I've created all the four operators. Now, of course, I could have done this without the spaces and then I could have written a loop to let's say those spaces. But this is also fine since we have only very few operators. So I just go and say, well, for kk in, let's say, range, say, len of, op list. So basically through every item of this, this list here. And I don't need the inner loop here. So I'm just going to say, look, I need a button for all these operators. So I just go and say, well, look, let's just do it a bit carefully. So I just need a button here. Of course, this has to be text will be say op list, let's say kk. Let's retain the foreground and the background color like earlier. Command here is going to be a lambda. I have only one, it's a argument over here. I say x equals to kk, and here my function is called press, say op, and this is just going to be then op list x dot say strip. So that is my function, and really since I'm placing them in, let's say a single column, so the row, let's say, remains constant. So I can again define this b row equals to, for example, 2, b col is equal to, say, in this case 3. So I'm placing them in a single column, sorry, which means the row will keep increasing, but the column will remain just, let's say, b col. So when I do this, in fact, now that I've done it, in fact, I can get rid of some of these buttons, and that's what makes the code more concise. So let me just for now comment them. So I go and remove the divide, the multiply, the minus, and then finally the plus. Now, just one small change. My OP list has to be minus and plus, otherwise it plus will appear on top of the minus. So I just go say minus, and for this one, I make it, let's say, plus. Now, okay, so I think I have to remove this as well. All right. So notice I've commented out a lot of code because all of that is going to get done, let's say, through this for loop. Now, when I run this piece of code, the GUI looks exactly same as earlier, and I can see if these operators are now functional. So let's say I do 112 plus, 3. Indeed, that's 115. Let's try one more example. Let's say 12, say times maybe 8, that is 96. Now notice all of what we were doing earlier, which is the operators, has all been, taken out. So I can in fact go and remove these codes so that it becomes even more concise. So I remove, say, this, I remove this, and finally I remove this. Now notice with this done, I can put a couple of comments here. So let's say place the numbers. So I put, let's say, place the numbers on the GUI. And finally over here, I say, well, place the operators GUI. Now notice here, my code is more concise. At the same time, it's not becoming overwhelming and I know which piece is going where. And that's important to balance this flexibility with, let's say, readability and maintenance. I hope you found this interesting. In general, if you think this way of learning works for you, where we build activities, we see, how things work, and we then go and enhance them, look at our website, www.ybyte.in, because we have many, many, many such activities. Take care. Thank you so much. Bye bye.